Oh, nice. I thought you were drinking Baja Blast for a minute. Ah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. An honor to be here. Oh yeah, I'm always clowning, bro. I'm always just trying to have a good time, for sure. My handle is that Savage Wrestler on all platforms. Self-explanatory, pretty simple, sir. Oh yeah, I feed off that energy, man. I really do. Know it. Oh yeah, it's the command center. It's in a command center always. Word. Nice. Awesome. Yes, sir. So my earliest inspirations of wrestling were definitely Hulk Hogan and Macho Man as the Mega Powers. I think I seen an older WrestleMania. My cousins that were a couple years older than me, and they had like a ton of wrestling VHSs, and that was my first real. Like I was really young. Like I'm a '90s baby, but I was really young, and that was just like my first memory. And they were just like over the top. You literally, they always say larger than life, almost like superheroes, but in real life. So I was like, dude, that's awesome. And Macho Man, just the energy, he was always hype. One of the reasons I decided to go with Savage when I jumped over the barricade and got into the business the right way, as they say. So that was definitely my earliest inspiration and exposure to wrestling. But I liked Hulk Hogan, and when I was young, I had the little blue 2 pound dumbbells. That was my first weight set that I ever had. I don't know if you remember those. The Hulkamania, but I think
Latino
I'll
Heat
go
TM
more.
still has one.
Oh, no
Speaking of
doubt, no doubt.
Latino Heat, yeah, my co-host had just popped in. We still have them somewhere. There is a blue set and a white set. I know we had at one point.
Nice.
If that says anything, I finally unmuted my mic. Apparently, it was muted on everyone else.
Okay, okay.
Who would you say is your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling? Like, you can throw in two singles and a tag team if that makes it any easier or harder.
You know what? I like that because that's a little different. Because I feel like a lot of the times you get the same or just like a very different variation of the similar. I'm gonna say it's gonna be personal. This is my Mount Rushmore, so it might not be everybody's. But my favorite or greatest? Would you say favorite or greatest of all time? Mount Rushmore.
It's your choice, man. It's your Rushmore. Like you could throw on Doink the Clown if you wanted to. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Great worker though. Great worker.
Uh, so I would have to say for me, Jeff Hardy, because he's one of my biggest inspirations. Literally watching the fact that he started out trampoline wrestling, which is how I started out trampoline wrestling in my backyard with my buddies after school, and then realizing that you can do it and actually do like get into wrestling. No matter what you are, if you're different, and he was very different than your typical bodybuilder wrestler. He was just a different cat. Hashtag me too. That's a joke my buddy says. Uh, but yeah, Jeff Hardy for sure, and then I would have to say Macho Man, Randy Savage. Then I'm gonna have to go with the Hulkster, and then Cena. That's my four.
Hey, between those four, they pretty much take that pretty much covers over 40 years of wrestling right there. Because Jeff
True.
pretty much stepped in when John Cena stepped away with his injuries, or we stepped away from wrestling a couple different times. And what is your go-to snack? I always forget to ask this one. Like everyone's like, you need to ask that in the first 5 questions.
Oh man, I wish I had some with me right now. I did think about that. I wanted to ask you, if that was part of the gimmick, we got to have snacks. I completely forgot,
Yes.
but definitely built puffs because they're like basically just a chocolate colored marshmallow, and it still helps me hit my protein goals with low sugar. That's like one of my go tos uh, when I'm on the road and I need a snack or I just don't like I need to eat something, but I don't feel like eating something. That's my go to always.
I've had those a couple times. The texture is a little different, but it doesn't leave you feeling that graininess of protein.
If
It's
you
still there, but
like,
not as hard.
yeah, if you like chocolate covered marshmallow, like those, you mean the Hershey trees you get around Christmas time where they got the chocolate coating and it's just like a marshmallow. It's a texture.
Yes, yeah.
It's some people love them, some people hate them, but compared to like you said, a traditional gritty protein bar, it's like okay, this is like a candy bar.
Yes. The Snacks and Suplexes name came from me being a decent taking a suplex. I love taking suplexes, like a German suplex, gut wrench. I love taking and giving suplexes. They're just so much fun. And the snacking part is I always have snacks around me. If it's caffeine or my non-alcoholic beer, since I don't drink anymore, stuff like
There
that.
you go.
If I'm not familiar, I stopped drinking December 24th of 2020. You were very similar of a close day, if I'm not.
Our sobriety date is about a week, maybe like 10 days off because I quit on New Year's Eve. It's the last time I ever had a drop of 2020, and then I left that bad habit with the rest of the dumpster fire that was 2020. Never looked back.
Oh, absolutely. It was one of those things where the non-alcoholic is 0.5%, but it's just enough to where I used to work at a bar. It gave me something to drink, and the bar brought it in because they wanted me to be feeling like family, and they kept the option. So I appreciate that. It was one of those things that I wasn't going to bring up, but it's like sobriety dates. Everyone's like, "Why did you
Oh,
do it?"
dude,
I was like, "Because I'm married with kids."
if
Leave it.
you didn't bring it up, I was gonna bring it up because it's a huge part of who I am. And yeah, man. Hey, it doesn't matter how you recover, whether it's the steps you found Jesus or some other divine intervention, and it doesn't matter how you stay sober. We do recover.
And it allowed me to get into a few different brands because there was one that did straight out of alcohol. It's just hop water. But it made me think of
Yeah,
NWA, so it was pretty cool. Like it's
nice.
given me a few partnerships with running and stuff like that. But let's get back into the history of midget wrestling, micro brawling. There's different terms for it, but it's been around for since the 1930s. So it's coming up on a 100-year anniversary because it's been around since circus acts. Then the NWA took it over, heavily pushed. They didn't take it over. They didn't monopolize it. Then Vince McMahon had midget wrestlers at WrestleMania 1, 2, and 3, if I'm not mistaken. Like it's been around forever. Chief J or not what was his name? I had a list of names. Little Tokyo, I had so many names and now I'm drawing a blank. But there is
And then
so
there was
many big
Lord
names.
Middlebrook, who I have wrestled with his grandson, Dynamite Dylan
Wow.
Michael, and he was one of the mini housings at WrestleMania and Backlash.
Yes, yes.
I
Speaking
knew
of,
more than half of those guys, and I've been in the ring. Yeah, man.
absolutely.
I know more than half of those guys, and I've been in the ring with more than half of those dudes right there.
It's got to be a great experience the first time you see Minniehausen, and then you're like, okay, that just made the day a little bit better
Hey, I don't
because
mark out for much these days, dude. But when I was at WrestleMania, I was like, all right, people were talking so much smack about WrestleMania. I was like, all right, WrestleMania ain't an L anymore. They just saved it right here.
honestly, it popped me real big when I saw a single Minniehausen and then the entire what would you call that? A cluster of Minniehausens, or because I recognized a couple of them. There's a gentleman who I actually had on Instagram before. I can never remember names. He had very long arms, but he hopped up on the table in one go, and I thought that was the craziest thing because I'm like, do you know what kind of dexterity that takes? Like to
Yeah, man. You would be surprised. Some little people are just naturally athletic in certain ways. I'm not one of them. I got to kind of work to be athletic, but some of them are just naturally strong, gifted. Like it's crazy. Yeah, you'd be surprised.
you mentioned a couple days ago. Speaking of a wrestling promotion, Half Pint Brawlers, the first group of midget wrestling, micro brawling, first group of
Yeah,
people to have a TV deal. Puppet, who was the veteran, who had been wrestling since what, 96, 97. You got to work with him. Very,
yes.
very nice man. And I was like, hey, I loved you on Half Pint Brawlers. He's like, did you know we have merch? Is the only line he ever said to me. And I got Latino Heat TM, who's slightly shorter than me, popping in saying thank you. Like, we love wrestling, like to our course, and we appreciate you coming on. But yes, you got to work with Puppet from Half Pint Brawlers. You also got to work a match with James Ellsworth, or James Ellsworth. Yes, James Ellsworth. I wanted to call him Adam Ugly, which was his indie name
No, that was actually
before.
his partner. It was
No,
Jimmy
Pretty
Dream
Ricky.
and Adam Ugly because Adam Ugly is the
Yeah,
one that gave me the tattoo of my home wrestling promotion.
that is awesome. I was like, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Because I usually come in prepared with notes, but my notebook, I had to start a new one.
Yeah, and when I first met Ellsworth, uh, it was before his WWE run, so I still call him Jimmy. And we did a video at the last show. It was his company that came to my hometown, which is where I got that clip of the poetry in motion. Um, and like we had to do a reshoot because I called him Jimmy. He's like, it's James. But yeah, Jimmy's a cool guy.
He from every interaction I've seen with him, he's always been good with fans. There was that stir up back a few years ago, but other than that one, I'm like, he's been cool. Like every time I pop up, I say hey, because I have a lot of wrestlers. If you go through my Facebook and Instagram, you're like, are you a wrestler? No, no. I've gotten that from Congo Kong, who I've done an interview with, but it got lost on media because I forgot to record it.
Gotcha.
That was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing because he's told a lot of great stories. Oh, where did the love of Power Rangers come from? Since you are a real life Power Ranger with all your bright colors.
Yeah, man. So I think I definitely just kind of this like superheroes, Power Rangers, wrestling. I feel like it's all kind of in the same realm, but very different at the same time. Um, always wanted to be a Power Ranger when I was younger. My favorite color was green. I literally picked my football team because my favorite color was green, so I picked Eagles, and my favorite animal was an eagle because I picked like green was my favorite color because of Tommy, because he was just, he's a badass. And just even when he was a bad guy, you still liked him. Like you didn't know why, why do I like that? Why is he so cool when he's a bad guy? And when you're young, you don't really think like the bad guys. Usually you don't. But he was one of the ones. He was still cool, even though he was like trashing your boys, like the main Power Rangers you knew the whole time. So like that was definitely Mighty Morphin. I've been down since day one, and I'm a big kid. I used to watch. So like I watched every season regularly back when it wasn't cool to be a comic book nerd, and I got made fun of in middle school for still watching Power Rangers, and in high school still watching Power Rangers. Like, what are you watching? Like, I watched it pretty much religiously every year. I'm gonna say up until Mystic Force or the following season, I believe, and then I kind of just stopped, and then I really got back into wrestling because I fell off for a few years after the Attitude Era, and then I can like a flashback. I can remember when I got hooked back in the wrestling when Jeff Hardy did the big swanton off the Titantron, that big old stunt on to Randy Orton, and that was like that was sick. And then every Monday night, boom, I was back in there.
I am a nerd that loves Power Rangers. You've seen the helmet. I had to bring it out, but I had to climb up on top of my Power Ranger blanket, which is on the couch behind me, to get to it. I also have a New Jack autograph, which is probably, I think, my holy grail item besides the helmet.
Nice.
And that top shelf up there has about 20 Power Ranger figures behind all the Bray Wyatt stuff. Like, I'm dorky. Like, I'm as dorky as it gets. Heck, I've got one of my daughter's notebooks right here with Kimberly on it, with the Pink Ranger power coin. Dorkiness. But let's get on a note that I don't like getting onto, but everybody remembers when we found out Jason David Frank had passed away. It was devastating, let's be honest, where it's like, are you kidding me? And you start scrolling social media, and he's like, there was so many good stories about him.
And I'll tell you what, man, like that's kind of like the first time like a celebrity, you know, death has kind of hit me like that, where I was like, it feels like I lost like a big brother. You know what I mean? Like, are you serious? And just knowing the love that he had for his fans and the community, and I always wanted to meet him. You know what I mean? And people were like, man, if you ever got to meet him, he'd probably get a kick out of you. And I was like, that would be cool, but it would just make my day to just, meet him. Like I know he loves his fans, and he was doing outside projects and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I've never seen a midget Power Ranger. Let me get in the room with Jason David Frank and pitch him that idea. They had a kid, but never a midget.
If you go to Super Sentai, there was more kids involved, but I don't know about midget, little people in Japan. But Super Sentai is dark. Like if you want to get into something,
Yeah,
Tubi has a bunch of them for free. If you ever want to watch
yeah,
Super
man.
Sentai,
A few years back, I'm gonna say it was definitely after I was out of school is when I really found out like about Super Sentai, and then I was like, wow. And then I found out like, yeah, like they just kill off characters. They don't care. Like they're just it's a different animal, kind of.
oh, absolutely. As where Corone, everything like that, there was always a happy ending, unless you go to Time Force, which is considered the darkest Power Ranger series. I mean, what was that one? What is that? Lost Galaxy got pretty dark too, and that's how you know I'm nerdy because at one point I could name every Ranger and every color they played and what was their last episode. Like I love doing stuff like that,
Right.
digging into like different Power Ranger lore. Did you know there's actually an RPG of Power Rangers that you can do like almost like Dungeons and Dragons?
No, I didn't.
I mean, I there's books up at Summit Comics here in town, and I've thumbed through them for like 2 hours before. So yes, I am dorky. Another fun question is who would you consider the greatest Ranger of all time? Is that Jason David Frank, Tommy, or would you go with the strongest of Jason Scott, which is Austin St. John? That was a debate that I've always gotten into.
It's kind of you kind of can't really dispute. It's gotta be Tommy, dude. It's gotta be Tommy. Jason's a close second, I will say, but and learning like the lore behind like the actual like behind the scenes and why they got replaced like, and stuff like that. If he would have been there and not kind of got contract negotiations didn't work and all that, the dark side of Power Rangers basically, I think he would have been the possibly the greatest Ranger of all time.
Oh, absolutely. So you watched that episode of Power Rangers? Or the
Oh,
Dark Side of Power
like
Rangers?
looking back now, it kind of didn't make any sense, and I was like, oh, this sucks. Seeing the people that I've always knew, like why are they switching the team up like kind of randomly? It seemed like, and then I was like, okay, well, as a kid, they made it work for the story, so you kind of don't think about it till years later. And you're like, wow, they were trying to fight for money, and like they wanted the union because the stunts were unsafe, and they were really trying to like take care of the actors. I was like, I didn't know that. So kind of good
Yeah.
for them. They stood their ground. Um, but yeah, it kind of sucks because I do believe that Jason, the original Red Ranger, would have been a much more legendary character and had more reoccurring roles, uh, you know, like Tommy did.
Yes. I I've watched that. That was the only episode of a TV show to make me like start questioning my childhood. Dark Side of Power Rangers, because it went through everything up until what, Wild Force, when Ricardo Medina, and yeah, he used to be my favorite Red Ranger until I realized I was like the lone wolf ranger until I was married with kids, because I had all the toys as kids. I
All
wish
right,
I
well, say
still had.
out of that same universe, as far as superheroes go, who is your favorite superhero?
Let's go. I always tell people Deadpool because I'm wisecracking and I will make jokes. I don't talk behind people's back. I will say a joke to your face straight up. Like me and a guy from work, he's like, what's your favorite thing to do? I was like, hot borders, because I'm Hispanic. So it's like, oh, watch this. And I jumped over a meat counter just because I thought it was funny. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, why not? Because being wisecracking, if you make jokes about yourself, it makes everything easier. Like there's nothing you can say to me that I haven't said to myself in the mirror this close.
Oh yeah,
But Deadpool has been by far my favorite superhero, unless we're saying unless these were real, like real things like Power Rangers with Ninja Turtles. I would pop for this movie. I'm only
great,
missing one. I got a deal on these. I'm only missing one. So I'm in the search for that Super Shredder with the Green Ranger.
nice.
Next question. Where did the idea of your gimmick come from? You were just like a ball of energy coming down the ramp. Like these clips on Instagram don't do justice.
Yeah, man. So like originally, how I kind of developed what I call the wild one, because I have two gimmicks. I have the wild savage, which is essentially like a Tasmanian devil, just a wild, war painted savage, quite literally. And it developed from what was a Viking type gimmick, as how I started painting my face when I was managing Grey Wolf Raventhorn, and that's kind of what got me out of my old gimmick, because I started in wrestling professionally, not beating up my buddies in my backyard, but when I got into business professionally, I started out as a ring announcer and a manager because I always liked talking smack on the mic. And then I kind of went from that like wisecracking heel uh, to being part of the horde, which in the Viking lore is basically like your group. It's like your clan. So he always had a group with him, and it was like misfits and outcasts, and that's you're looking at him. That's the reason that I started carrying the hammer with me, and I still carry it with me to this day. It just became a part of my gimmick. Um, but yeah, so I used to wear a fur vest, like a black leather vest with fur, which looked like Scar's mane from the Lion King, and that was like my first part of being the wild savage, but it was more Viking style. And then once I started wrestling, I kind of adapted it to just kind of be more of a wild savage in general, not really doing like the fur and like the Viking stuff, and kind of just having my own inspirations, and then doing like, for instance, a lot of my face paint, you could probably tell it goes after one of my biggest idols, Jeff Hardy. And I kind of just started putting my own inspirations into it instead of basing it off of somebody else's gimmick. So 2019, I went full force into midget wrestling. Like I said, Half Pint Brawlers was my first ever midget show. Probably one of their last shows. There was only two matches. It was Puppet versus Little Kato, and then it was Jay Savage versus Mr. Chow. So that's where I started doing the Wild Savage as my own thing and kind of just running with it. Yeah, so that's been about 7 years now, coming up on.
I remember watching Half Pint Brawlers. I'm 30 now, so yeah, if that was I was probably like 25 or 23, 24 when that show ended. I was like, I never thought twice about it. I was like, every person that came on, it was Puppet, it was Immigration Sensation, Turtle. I can at one point I could name everyone, but I was actively watching it. It's like, whoa. And then
And it's crazy because I was watching him like, I think that was back when I was in high school when it was still on TV. I'm gonna say what, 2010, 2009.
yeah, yeah.
And I told, like, I got to meet Justice. I met Turtle. Like I said, I met Little Kato, Puppet, and I used to watch you guys when I was in high school, and they're like, "Oh man, you're making me feel old, kid." It's like, sorry, bro, I'm just like kind of marking out a little bit, like like that was my first real exposure. Besides David Coulier from Full House, I seen him do comedy. Like I never really met a celebrity like until then, really, like that's been on TV.
I was gonna say the only person I've ever met here in Fort Wayne, his name is Eric Wedge, former manager in MLB, now coaches in college. He was a former MLB player as well. I assisted. I did his baseball camp every year, and then I started volunteering at it, and I had a full circle moment. And he's like, "This is why I feel old because you said you were here when you're a kid. You have facial hair." It's fun though, seeing these guys like, oh man, now I'm old. And the very first interview I did on this channel, one on one with anyone, it was Anthony Toatelli, and I watched him 2 days after graduating high school. And he's like, "Don't tell me that." And we stayed in touch, and I got to watch him again. And my daughter's first autograph was from him, so that was really cool, like full circle moment.
Nice.
It's just wrestling. You can do this for 20-30 years. Your body will take a toll, but seeing the fans react to you, it drives you to the next town.
Yeah,
That's
true.
from what I've been told. I didn't travel much. I've taken my fair share of dumb bumps. A flip bumping from the apron to the outside through 2 tables was the worst thing I've done because
Nice.
I landed on my tailbone, which forced me under the ring, which was very awkward to do. I hit and then I slid under the ring. Oh, my tailbone hurt for like 3 days. It didn't hurt in the moment, but you don't feel it till you stop moving.
Yeah, till the adrenaline wears off, for sure.
Okay. I need to re-pull this up. You sent me the link so many times. You've sent me the link to it. I just keep forgetting the title of the movie because I have. Wait, it's on my watch later list because I left it there.
So speaking of like Power Rangers, we've been talking about Power Rangers. That's kind of once I learned Power Rangers, like I couldn't really become a Power Ranger, right? I was like, okay, so they're just acting, and then they get to like be that cool. Maybe like that's something that I could be into one day. Um, I didn't really think it was possible for the longest time because how I look, you know what I mean? I kind of look like a science experiment. Let's be honest. Like I don't got movie star looks. Uh, so I was kind of like, well, then there's wrestling. They got all kinds of different outcasts, and that's kind of the route that I took until I got that opportunity to really do an actual movie with, production and like, they're gonna put it on streaming places. It's not no major motion picture, baby, but it's still one of my biggest accomplishments.
Absolutely. And I was going through the actor list of the movie, and I'm like, why does that name ring a bell? And I was talking the creator of the movie. Oh, where's this at? I had all these notes.
Yeah, Damien Chapa wrote the movie, directed the movie, produced, probably
Yes,
edited the movie. Yeah, it was a passion
Damien
project.
Chapa. Yes, Damien Chapa. If for any of you fans that are watching that don't know who that is, the main character for Blood In and Blood Out. If you
Vato
don't know who
Solo
that,
forever.
and I'm like, wait, how was he when you got to like? Did he interact with you daily or?
Of course, dude, he was very hands on. He was on this like, and here's the thing: like I found out, acting is not as easy as you think. You have to be resilient because they're gonna make you take after take after take after take. Whether it was good or not, they want to try to get this angle, that angle, this shot, this shot. So like that was kind of eye opening to me. Like, all right, I'm out here till 2 a.m. to get these shots. Mind you, I was in Texas on the road wrestling in between filming. So like I'm used to long nights, but I was just like wow, this is what they do just till they get it done. Because you have to have like everybody in the production, get them all together at the same time, and it's like it's a production, you know what I mean? So it was definitely eye opening, but Chopper super cool, down to earth dude. Like I didn't annoy him with asking a million questions, which sometimes I do because I'm very inquisitive. Like if I'm getting into something, I'm a student of the game. Like why are you setting that up like that? Like I learned about blocking. I learned a lot about videography too, which I love learning about, like setting up shots, blocking, lighting, sound, like everything that goes into it. And he was really cool and very nice, and he was always willing to give advice.
It's just cool to think about someone who I idolized watching as a kid in a single movie. Like he's down other things, but one movie, and I'm like, because I started watching, I was like, wait, why does that voice sound familiar? And I'm sitting here like, why does that name look familiar? And I Googled, I'm like, wait a second. And I started popping for it, like an inner pop, because I love researching names and stuff like that. That's how I found out midget wrestling is over 100, almost 100 years old.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy, isn't it?
Because I typed in, I was like, Joe Marco. I just typed it in, and then all sorts of stuff's popped up, like your Instagram, your Facebook. I was like, wrestling matches, okay. And then I was like, I started doing that Easter egg diving, like diving into different things because Puppet came up, who worked in World Wrestling All Stars. Then World Wrestling All Stars popped up, and then NWA. I was digging for like I think I was up till 3 or 4 in the morning just going through like midget wrestling, just because it's such a cool rabbit hole.
Oh yeah,
It's
for
so
sure.
cool.
And
Finding out
it's
NWA.
really kicking off like I want to say probably around the time that I got into it. A few years before that, it started picking up where there's like multiple different groups. There's every part of the country has some kind of midget wrestling going on at some time now, which I love to see because it's for us a lot of little people don't have opportunities. Some people, and this has never been me. I've never been to sit at home and collect a check. Little person, not saying some people need it. You know what I mean? But like that's some people's life. They don't have a way to get out and make a living for themselves and experience the world. They just kind of be stuck at the house, or you know, some of them
Yeah.
are in upper shape health wise, and there's still ways that they can get out and be a part of the show, whether it's doing tickets or
She woke up. She fell asleep.
well,
Uh, my microphone fell over, and I had to get that. Sorry about that.
no problem.
And then I got my own tiny human passed out behind me. This is why I stopped drinking. And now she was like halfway hiding
That's a
behind
very
me.
admirable reason, dude. I stopped because I didn't want to be the reason that my mom worried anymore. I mean, I
Oh,
still should worry
100%.
about in the ring, but one less thing that she has to worry about, we'll say.
My wife had the same rule. If I get hurt, she kills me. It's a simple rule, and I don't break that rule. I don't break that rule to the point where she's the one who hand stitched the logos onto the hats and on the shirt you usually see me wearing, except my cool Danhausen shirt. I could not pass up on. Like when you have the cash, you buy fun stuff. And oh, what was that? The Micro Wrestling Federation, the big one that came in. Did you have it like any get excited or anything seeing that they got a deal on A&E? I'm not
So
saying all of them.
yeah, bittersweet. I'm gonna say because around the time, so like I literally filmed for the TV show. They had a film crew come in. Me and Flying Ryan, who was not, he left. After like I kind of stopped working over there because the schedule was just a little bit too hectic, and I was working towards trying to be a part time, which is really hard to do. I'm finding out in micro wrestling because they just want you out for weeks and weeks and weeks, or they don't want you at all. So I'm actually in the process of booking a tour for next month. As long as I can go out for just 2 weeks, come home, and still be able to do things that I need to do at home. You know what I mean? I'm not a road warrior anymore. I'm more of a weekend warrior, I like to say. But
I don't
definitely was,
blame you.
like I said, it was bittersweet because it's like, oh man, they like we came out, they filmed. Me and Flying Ron had like a drama thing that they filmed. They gave us like this little basically premise, like because we had like real life heat when I first started over there. So the producers they were like, okay, we're gonna use this. We're gonna make like a segment. That's how kind of reality TV works. There's some reality to it, and then they're like, all right, we want you guys to like fight over this, da 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 da, you know, and so it was really bittersweet, dude, because then I don't know if you know how it goes with TV. They submit it, they try to get it aired, and then it fell through. Things fell through for like I think 2 years. So 2 years later, they finally decide, okay, we're going to run with this thing. sent the crew back out with all the other people who were still there, and that's why I wasn't on the show. Obviously, I wasn't worth the company anymore. I was sitting at home with my broken leg at the time when it aired. So it was definitely bittersweet for me, but I was definitely happy for my boys. You know, I always say this: just because we ain't sitting at the same table doesn't mean I don't want to see my boys eat. I don't play the tribalism bullshit, and I got friends in all the companies, and yeah, man, I want to see everybody do good.
Uh, I I was chatting with Pinky Shortcake Ashley. I can't remember her last name, Ashley, because she was
Yeah,
looking for someone to take care of her dog. I was like, I will keep looking. Like I was like, I'm loving the whole character because it's just fun and everything. And then within 2 weeks of her posting and everything there, and then Psycho, I'm like, this is awesome. Like these two are both awesome people. So I'm like, this is exciting. And
dude,
then that's
you
how I
want to know
found
something?
you and a couple other people.
Dude, you want to know something? Actually, speaking of Pinky Shortcake, she hit me up when I was still doing backyard wrestling because she seen that I was a little person, and she was in a different company. I'm not gonna name, but yeah, she was like, "Do you wrestle?" And I was like, I'm not really trained. I just do backyard wrestling with my friends." And she's like, "Oh, okay, never mind." And then like I met her years later. This was like I'm gonna say 2014 or something crazy, like way back before I started getting into the business professionally. And then I'm good friends with Psycho. Like me and him, we just click. We kind of like doing the same thing, just going out, like getting videos, just being funny, cracking jokes, having fun. Like we just kind
Mhm.
of same vibe. Uh, so yeah, I love all my boys over there. Little show, learned a lot from that dude. The goat of micro wrestling, and Micro Tiger. That's my buddy. We were always clowning. Uh,
Little Urkel, I have him on Twitch. I actually every time he tunes in, I always try to say something.
Disco Dom. He's actually from the hometown that I was born in. I was born in Columbia, PA. Disco Dom grew up in Columbia. I grew up on the other side of the Susquehanna River here in Pennsylvania. But yeah, man, I was born in Lancaster County, but not raised, and so was Disco Dom.
That is cool. I'm from Indiana. I'm the definition of the whitest Mexican you'll ever meet. No, don't know Spanish.
I wouldn't have known you were Latino if you wouldn't have told me, bro.
I think the hair proves it. Every Hispanic has the same haircut at one point.
You got a little bit of back.
Not anymore. My twin brother does though. He has the longest mullet I've ever seen. But yes, and then I have two little Chipotle babies. Since I'm like Taco Bell Mexican, but not really. My kids are Chipotle.
Oh, that's
It's a
funny.
it's a joke I have to use, and people are like, "Why do you say that?" I was like, "Because I don't know Spanish." But yeah, I can make tamales like nobody's business.
Hey, there you go. Hey, I like me a quesadilla. I make a mean quesadilla.
I make a microwave quesadilla sometimes. Sometimes that hits better than the real good quesadilla. Oh, where's TM at? Girl, you're like making my leg fall asleep. How were you approached about the role in the movie you acted in?
So I was out in Texas. I literally lived a month of my life in Texas back in 2022. I was out on the road for about 2 months at a time, and we were uh, near New Braunfels because that's where the movie was filmed. And basically, Damien's assistant, she was made a posting like looking for little people in Texas for a film opportunity, and it was really just a 1 day shoot. Originally, it was just supposed to be like a cameo, and then I went out and like I did really well, and I ended up becoming one of the main characters. And I had at that point I was really adamant about I was manifesting it. I want to do movies. I want to be like be like the next Spider-Man. I've never seen a midget Spider-Man. They just opened up the universe. There's got to be one out there. Why can't it be me? And I just wanted to do acting, obviously. And the reason I wanted to be the next Spider-Man is because I was like, well, I can't be a Power Ranger, but maybe I could, kick ass, right? He became a superhero and he didn't have any powers. So, and that's like an actual movie that I would like to bring to fruition. I have a whole premise and everything for that. But as far as getting landing that role, it was kind of just luck. We were literally in the area. They needed little people, and we happened to be around, and we were doing a tour all over Texas. So like whether we were like 2 or 3 hours away, he would send his assistant to meet, come get me after the show. We would like go back to the hotel by then. I would film for a couple hours because like midget wrestling, the shows are at least they don't start till like 8 usually because it's bars and clubs the majority of the time. So like I had the middle of the day and early morning to shoot a lot, and then we did like the night scenes on my days off from wrestling, uh, and filmed those at night.
I I couldn't do those long nights. I've done bar hours. Bar hours suck.
I'll tell you what, and I've worked especially like in Vegas. Sometimes the shows don't start till midnight. Like so, you got to be, and then you get out at 2, 3 in the morning, and it's like
What do I
yeah.
do now? There's nothing to do but go to a bar at that point and go out because you're
Well, for me,
wired and ready to
I,
go.
so the first time I ever been to Vegas, I had a work fight. It was an MMA fight in an octagon, and it was 3 weeks into my sobriety. It was like January 19th or 21st, something like that, of 2021. So like I went to Sin City right after I got sober. So I don't drink, I don't gamble, but I love Las Vegas. There's so much to see. There's so much to go out and like entertainment wise, people just on the street trying to entertain people. You know what I mean? And for me, I really leaned into like making videos and stuff when I got as an outlet when I got sober. So like I was like, there's just so many cool sceneries here. Like, let's go. Like Fremont Street. I don't know if you've ever been to Vegas, but that is definitely my favorite place to be in Vegas because it's just the OG strip, and then they have like LED boards, the craziest visualizations over your head, with like makes you feel like you're outside and like the Cadillac just like putting over your head. It's pretty.
The closest I've been to Las Vegas is El Dorado, Kansas, for a cross country National Junior College Athletic Association Nationals cross country meet in college. That's the most or west I've been. It sounds beautiful though. Like I love like no lights, but I love big lights as well.
Yeah, dude, flying into Las Vegas is crazy. It's like wow, it's just like a light show, literally.
No, that's New York, the city that never sleeps. I mean, Vegas is probably the same way. Drinking at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m., the same exact thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's always something to get into, good or bad. There's always something to get into.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. If you're still looking for the weekend wrestling thing, I can hit you up with Anthony Toatelli if you've ever heard of him. He's a part-time wrestler on the weekends, and he still makes it look amazing. Plus, he was featured in WWE at Elimination Chamber, one of the security guards.
Oh, nice, bro. Heck
He's a
yeah.
he's a cool he's a cool cat, super nice, like always and always 100% like, hey, what's up, man? I didn't think you were gonna make it. The first time he saw me with kids, he's like, wait, you have kids? I was like, yeah. And then he looked through a message. He's like, yeah, you did say you had kids. I thought it was one. I was like, it was two. It was twins. I'm done. I am done. One of each. I got two tiny-ish humans. One just woke up and just went right back to sleep in my blanket right over here. Right now, we're chilling in the library because we like to read in this house. But who is an opponent or someone that you learned a lot from in the business besides those who trained you?
First and foremost, I have to shout out to my sensei, Ray Alexander, because he's the one that kind of brought me in to the fold. Back in the time, 2016, it's been almost 10 years that I've been in the business the right way. Like I said, I was doing reckless, untrained things with other guys who weren't trained, and that's how I tore my ACL. So, like, I'm a big advocate on if you love wrestling, you have a passion for wrestling, go find a local promotion near you and get trained and do it the right way because you might pay for it in the long run. And I definitely
Mhm.
did. That's why around that time I decided that like, okay, I already hurt myself doing this. I'm just gonna be a manager. I'm gonna do a ring announcer. And my sensei Ray said, that Dusty Rhodes told him, you don't need to be a wrestler to be in a wrestling business, baby. And I ran with that. My first 3 years, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna wrestle. I'm not gonna make my mom worry. Um, you know, I didn't think I was going to be taken seriously. I thought they were just going to throw me around with the midget toss. And then little did I know about micro wrestling and that it was such a big, like, hot thing, and people would just, you know, get into it, and they literally pack the block. There, you have a line around the block, and I'll tell you this, dude. The midget wrestling shows and indie wrestling shows are two different, completely different animals. Like the fans, there might not even be a wrestling T-shirt in the entire crowd because they're just there for the attraction sometimes, which is just crazy to me. You know what I mean? And uh, you go to the indies, obviously everyone's wearing a wrestling shirt. You know what I mean? Like they're wrestling fans. So that's kind of why I've been really enjoying getting back to my roots and taking more indie dates. I recently had a tour with Maryland Championship Wrestling, who is one of the biggest indies on the East Coast. 2 weeks before I was there, they had Matt and Jeff, and I was like, I could have been in the locker room with Matt and Jeff. I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. Then I was like, you know what? I'm just grateful to be working the same promotion. You know what I mean? Kind of breathing the same air that some of the goats that I look up to have.
Never say never. Never say never. I've met so many wrestlers, not even thinking about it. Josh Lewis is another independent guy here. He used to tag with Rob Conway, who was in WWE back in. He got beat up by all the legends back in the day, and Kane chokeslammed him for wearing the May 19th referee shirt. If you're familiar with that one,
Oh yeah,
yeah. I've gotten to have conversations with both of them, but it was like, oh hey, it's good to see you, Josh. And he's like, you don't want a picture or anything? I was like, no, just so knowing, just saying hey means more than a picture and autograph on your personal time. Like wrestlers are always awesome. That's why I'm like, I'll give you 30 to 90 seconds, but if I go over that, I'm on my way. Like I'm not gonna take away your personal time because it's always fun meeting a wrestler. Who was the one? I've been in works of Congo Kong. You know who that is in TNA. The definition of a monster. He has a wrestling school not even 30 minutes away from here. He's trying to talk my ear into getting to wrestling the right way. And the more, as much as I thought it would just be a
hey,
YouTube thing.
DDP, one of my other biggest inspirations, not just in wrestling but in life. His book literally changed my life. Positively Unstoppable. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Um, he was 40 years old when he won a world heavyweight champion. You know, he started, and that's the thing. He was a manager for years, and he's like, okay, he wasn't the biggest guy, right? Back when Giants were the big thing, and then he was like, well, he kind of thought he wasn't going to be taken seriously, and then somebody told him, well, just get in there and do it. Like you have the passion more than just kind of being a cheerleader on the side, and that's literally I kind of found myself in that same position because going out with Grey Wolf and getting to be like with the Horde, it's like, man, like I want to be back in the ring. Like I want to be back in the ring. And then I got the opportunity with Mr. Chow. He hit me up and said, you want to work a midget show? I was like, well, I didn't train to wrestle, dude. I only know like my basic bumps and, strikes and stuff like that. And I do manager spots. And he's like, I'll take care of you. And then you go and finish training. And I said, okay, let's do it.
Hey, you gotta love the guys. Like, no matter, I've been talking with a lot of wrestlers. They're like, you know a lot. I was like, that's all I do is read. But speaking of books, I do have one that's helped me through trying to do my podcast and everything and in actual life, even though this podcast is real life for me. Ugh.
But yeah, dude, what I was getting at with that is never say never, bro. So if you really have the passion, go out there and train. Even if you don't want to be a wrestler, be a manager, something, dude. An interviewer, you already have that. You're doing it right now. Just start going to your local promotion and say, hey, can I interview your guys? Do you need a backstage interviewer, and then dip your
Exactly.
feet, see how you feel physically. Because 2019, I never really thought after tearing my ACL I would get back in the ring and wrestle. I then a couple years later, boom, broke my leg in 3 different places, and then came back. So never say never,
Mhm.
man. You can achieve more than your mind initially leads you to believe.
Oh, absolutely. It's why Joseph Schwartz, if you've ever heard of him, another independent wrestler, he was a guest on here about a month ago. I bought his book, and he actually personally signed it to me. And I got to do an interview on here and telling him how this book is getting me through working retail. Coming back here from doing a wrestling show, then a podcast last night, then another shift at work, and then Saturday night's main event. I'm on like 3 hours of sleep across the last 3 days, but I'm still going 100%. He's like, you have more drive than I've seen in a long time. Use it. So people have been in
Nice.
my ear. I'm thinking in January of next year, if financially we're in the right place, I'm wanting to do wrestling training with Congo
So is
because
that always you want to be a wrestler? That's your goal. Go back and do it the right way.
I don't know if I want to be a wrestler, but I can't say I wasn't in the training to get me in the right mindset. Like I want to be able to understand. I want to feel that bruising on my bones. I just miss that feeling, but I want to do it the right way, like you said.
It's literally therapeutic. It is.
Because staring up the lights, I've stared up the lights more than any two wrestlers should, but I love the losers in wrestling. Barry Horowitz, Brawler, Red Rooster, all of them meant something. And Coco Beware, because Undertaker loves Coco Beware, because that's who Taker pinned for the first recorded tombstone at Survivor Series 1990. Yep, I just proved my nerdiness right there.
Yeah. Your encyclopedia.
I am worse than Wikipedia. I can find dark history wherever I go, and I love like finding good and bad things. Like Indiana, this is our Saturday night's main event. Was the first wrestling show not to have a serious botch in Fort Wayne in like so many years. Because Sid Vicious broke his leg here. The rope broke against the Hart Foundation during that 2 out of 3 falls match. Yeah, I'm. I love wrestling, but I won't know the good and the bad. Uh, what is this? Where did you get the idea of being a DJ? Because that was the one question that I have missed.
Yeah. So like one of my other wrestling trainers, the Honorable Judge Lawless, um, he kind of so like I was doing this literally judging karaoke because my sensei Ray Alexander, he's a local celebrity around York. They used to call him the King of York, and we were doing this karaoke contest at the summer, and I just it was me, Ray, and Judge, and basically we were just talking one night, and he was like, "Yeah, I kind of did some DJing back in the day." And I was like, I thought that would be a fun job, just literally playing music for people. And he's like, it is. It's kind of simple once you learn, the programs and stuff. And if you can deal with people. And I've always been a social person. And I was like, that kind of sounds like a fun job. If I could just wrestle and DJ, that sounds like, when you love what you do, you're not really working, right? So I was like, And then we kind of started a DJ business together before the scamdemic hit. Sadly, he decided he wasn't really interested in doing the DJ thing anymore. And now I'm just solo, dolo, savage style entertainment. That's me. That's me. The SAV to the AGE. It's that savage, baby. And this mic ain't for karaoke, but it kind of fits for DJing. I like talking on the mic and stuff like that. So I've always been a social person, and that's kind of like just a way for me to have something else to do without having to conform to getting a 9 to 5 like a real job.
I've been working retail for as long as I can remember. I like if you're gonna always see me mess with my hands, it's early onset arthritis from cutting meat for years.
Oh man, dude,
I
I've been
love
there.
doing it.
I've worked, gas stations. I've worked overnight stocking at grocery stores. I've worked freaking at a manufacturing plant making car parts. I did forklift at warehouse jobs. Like, dude, I've done the blue collar thing, and
Mhm.
it makes you appreciate being able to like have fun gigs now. But if it ever comes to it, I will still go back and be like, all right, it's time to get back to the real world type thing.
Mhm.
And I never thought that hustle, man. You know what I mean? Retail, it's not easy because you got to always deal with people, whether you feel like dealing with people or not. Kind of like social media.
I'm very like quiet at work. Everyone's like, "Where's this?" And then a few weeks ago I had an awakening. They're like, "The character you do on here, can you do it at work?" So they allow me to like a little bit of freedom. So I enjoy that. Like I've gotten so many fans like in wrestling. They're like, "Wait, there's an independent wrestling show in town?" Because I advertise it all the time. Even on my seafood counter, I have posters just sitting on the counter just because
Nice.
it pops the fans. Because if I'm going to be stuck at work, I'm going to have a good time.
Heck yeah, dude.
And we're coming up on the hour mark, so I try to keep these about an hour. I do appreciate your time. I'm going to pull up your socials one more time just to make sure we're good because everybody loves your socials and you're very entertaining.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I try,
But
man.
what's the story? What's the story behind you carrying the trampoline? Did you just find that in someone's garbage, or was that?
Literally, so I was over hanging out, helping Grandpa Savage out, cleaning. He was like cleaning out his yard and stuff, and then we were getting ready to leave, and his neighbor just had like a trampoline. I literally fixed it with duct tape. It was all ripped up. They were like, "Yeah, we're just gonna toss it," and I wanted one because like I broke my leg, and I wanted something to help kind of like stretch my leg out and kind of shake it out. And it's really tight. I got a steel rod and 3 screws in that bad boy. So a lot of the times I got, yeah, there it is.
It's
I was looking on Facebook Marketplace for one because I wanted something, and it's low impact, and it kind of shakes your leg around and kind of loosens things up. That's the whole reason I wanted one, and then I found one. It's like, oh yeah, and I
that's
was
options are.
taking that dumbbell home or that barbell home, and I'm actually gonna wire brush it. That's going back to Grandpa Savage. I didn't find that, but I was like, hold on, let me taking this with me to the house. Let me use this for the video. And yeah, man, just off the wall. I always get these like crazy ideas. Like I have ADHD, so like I have like a million thoughts a minute sometimes. Uh, it's a blessing and a curse, but yeah, man. And I was like, this is gonna be a funny idea. And then I put that trash man sound behind it, looking like I'm just walking around picking up trash. And I was like, this is gonna be funny. And if other people didn't think it's funny, I thought it was funny. It made me laugh. So
Oh, absolutely. I laughed at it. And then I was like, you know what? I have to message Joe Markle just because it'd be funny. Because I'm like, hey, great inspiration. Been watching you for years. Like, kept it simple. Like, I keep it simple every time I talk. And I was like, have I never messaged him before? Because I message everyone. But I was like, wow, I've never messaged him. And then boom. And then you responded within like a couple hours. I was like, wait a sec. Who's the. Oh. Every time a wrestler responds to me, I always get the same Pikachu. Wait, they're actually responding every time. Like
that's
right now,
awesome.
I have a message from a gentleman named Tate Manson hanging out in my DMs. I need to respond to him because he's very big into this channel. Super nice guy, a Congo Kong trainee who said he has a chop waiting for me if I decide to train. I'm like, okay. Like I'm not afraid of getting chopped. And you mentioned slap boxing. I saw you smack. What was that? Where is it at? I saw you smack something and
Yeah,
just
I got a speed bag, and people
yes,
were climbing me. People were climbing the line. They're like, "There's no water in that." It's quickcrete in the bottom of it, actually.
but just knowing how much it takes for it to shake and you smacking it straight up, the force you generate from long arms and pretty much all core.
And,
Nope. There's
it's a lot of thinking about it and like thinking about mind to muscle connection and what you're doing. Like I love the
yeah,
mechanic of like anything to do with like working out or like sports entertainment. Basically, that's what it is. Slap, slap fighting. And I was like, I've never seen a midget. We'll see. My buddy, Face Aid, he's out there. The Neon Ninja facade.
the
Sorry,
neon.
that's a joke between me and my grandpa Savage. The first time I met him, I called him by the wrong name. It's Facade. He works at Juggalo Championship Wrestling, which is on my bucket list to get out there with my homies. Whoop whoop.
Did you say Juggalo Championship Wrestling? Get in touch with Congo. That man's always there. Second longest reigning Juggalo Championship Wrestling heavyweight champion behind Corporal Robinson, who I've actually gotten to watch wrestle in person.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I got a couple homies over there. Like, their photographer. Like, he worked one of our micro shows out in Michigan, and he's gonna put a good word in for me. So after this tour that I'm have coming up with micro, I'm definitely planning on getting to the bigger indies and some of the things that are on my bucket list. Because for me, the sand and hourglass, it's moving a lot quicker than it used to did. And I want to try and accomplish as much as I can.
I mean, you're like what, 24, 25? You got all the time in the world.
Oh, stop it! I'm 35 actually. I'm not
Nice, nice, nice. I didn't want to assume you were older than me with my receding hairline. That's why
hey
it's
man.
hidden.
So what year are you? I'm 91.
I'm 95, so I'm right there in the middle, right
Okay,
there in
all
that
right.
middle point. I remember a lot of stuff from the 90s, but people are like, but you weren't there. But I was like, I have cousins with VHS players, and I have a photographic memory, and I can recite things back.
And
Like,
that's
did you
why
know?
like yeah, dude, that's why like some of my earliest inspirations was like classic like early '90s wrestling, like from a few years back, because
Yeah,
my cousins had like the older VHSs and stuff.
because the first idea in wrestling that I've ever had that I've never actually spoken out loud. I wanted to cut a promo in wrestling if I ever went anywhere, eating ravioli sitting on the ground, inspired by the mankind eating ravioli on the ground, because it would
Do
be funny. And
it. The next wrestling show, just make a skit out of it.
just
Make
sit
it
there
a
eating
real.
ravioli. See who gets it, because there's always somebody who will be like, "Ha, that's funny." There's always that one wrestling fan. Because I was like, "Oh, that sounds like that's a terrible idea," and then I'm thinking about it because I have a can of ravioli in the cabinet that I'm about to eat because I love ravioli, and I thought it would make me cool eating ravioli. Or I remember the old school Lugs commercials that played during the 2000 or the late '90s wrestling. They always had Lugs commercials. What was the other one?
Oh
Stacker
yeah.
2. Stacker 2
Oh yeah.
commercials always made me laugh. Like, is this really going to do anything? And then I drank one. I was like, this tastes terrible. I was like 9. I shouldn't have been drinking one.
So hey, bro, I see that we hit an hour, and I did want to kind of just rerun down like the
Yes,
things
sir.
that I'm not proud about with wrestling. Like I told you, my first name that I got to work with was the Sandman. And shout out to James Ellsworth because he booked me on that show at the Hanover National Guard Armory. When I was a manager, I wasn't even a wrestler. And, I was just doing this skeezy little manager thing, trying to, help the bad guy win that I was managing. And the Sandman laid in the all of us with the cane, and I got it last. I ran up and I kicked him in the shin, and he no sold it, and then he just boom cracked me with the kendo, and I was like, man, I got to work, and that was the same night I got to share the locker room with Jerry the King Lawler, Sandman, and Big Papa Pump, and Jeff Jarrett was there, but he had his own locker room, but he was there.
Oh, Jeff Jarrett. Yeah, he gets his own locker room. Yeah. There's a lot of you've worked with a lot of people like up and down Commodores and stuff like that. You've shared locker rooms there, but one I
I,
think is above.
I also got to wrestle in front of Rob Van Dam on his
Yeah.
birthday at a double decker strip club, and after we celebrated and he supplied a celebration because I had been for the majority of California sober. So that's kind of how we celebrated with RVD on his birthday, and that was kind of crazy. The
One in
next,
Rome, right? One in
yeah,
Rome.
man. So like the next big names that I got to work with was Bill Burr. He commentated a micro wrestling show up in Massachusetts, and the same show, John Cena's dad was in the front row, and he watched the show. It was a cigar convention, and dude, we wrestled under this tent, and it was just filled with cigars. It was the hardest, worse than wrestling in the desert. It was harder to breathe, but it was just and it was all dudes. It wasn't no chicks. Like it was all dudes smoking cigars, all old dudes, and yeah, it was like, oh man, this is kind of weird. But then it's like I got to meet Bill Burr, got to kind of pick his brain because after wrestling, and I'm already kind of working my way to comedy because it has a lot of similarities with wrestling, and I still want to do something entertainment wise that'll kind of get me out and about. So yeah, man, those are some of the big names that I've got to work with and be around. Also, El Torito, the mini housing that
Yeah.
got the match backlash.
Yeah.
I worked with him for a month on the road. He liked me. He's like, Savage, you're a good guy, but you always late. He's like,
We
I'm
were
working on
15 minutes.
it.
We were 15 minutes late today. I don't even care. Like I always
Yeah,
tell
like,
people
exactly,
7-ish.
exactly. And then we had some technical difficulties, but hey, we made it happen, bro.
Yes, we made it work, and I do appreciate your time, man. Like I've been a wrestling fan for going on 28 years because I can recall Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, Austin not tapping out and passing out. Like greatest moment in wrestling history right there. Like that's how you know Attitude Era began right there. But
Oh yeah,
that's what started it for me. I can go through year after year. I can tell you what the championship was the longest of the year reign of the year and everything like that. I will have time another day. I could
yeah.
go on a 24-hour stream if I wanted to, but I don't want to do that. But I do appreciate your time, man. I will have you back soon one day. Or if you end up in JCW, do something there. I do
Yeah,
want to
man.
go to a JCW show.
Dude, and I'll definitely get out to Indiana sometime soon. I've worked Fort Wayne. I've worked a handful of other places in Indiana. So I'll definitely let
With
you know if I
midget,
get out there, man. And I always keep an eye out. I always try and post and share posters wherever I'm going. So yeah, man, it'd be great to
yes,
meet you one day in person.
Indiana or Fort Wayne, you'd be either do Pierre's or you would
Yep,
do.
Pierre, you got it. You got it.
I
There was
I've
another.
been in Pierre.
There was another one too. It was like a horse saloon. It was like in Fort Wayne, but it was like maybe it wasn't that, but it was like another bigger venue. It was not Pierre's. Pierre's is very nice, real nice
Pierre,
venue.
very nice. There's a nice cigar lounge right across the street, and one of my friends had an apartment that I helped her keep her house clean, her apartment clean right over there, right around the corner. And I still live in Fort Wayne. I don't pay much for rent, so I'm cool with where I'm at. I do appreciate your time, man. I'm gonna let you go because I gotta get this little one to sleep.
For sure, bro.
She's just
Thanks for having
stared
me.
at me.
Appreciate
She
it.
stared at me like, "Are you gonna stop talking?" But thank you for your time, man. We'll be in touch.